So, hello everybody, great to be with you all again. Yeah, next stream is going to be on Tuesday, which is the 13th of May at 10 AM UK time. Okay, so let's, I was about to take a full step there, so let's see. Hi to, we've got Nadia, Oksana, we've got Ronan, Vitali, and hi to Manisco, and hi to Nadia as well, and hi to Renyard. Okay, this is suddenly blossoming. Let's go then. So, it was the cleverest escape in the prison's 30 years. The men who broke out of Alcatraz with a spoon. And there, as you see, is the link for the BBC article. So, on 12th June 1967, 3 men escaped from Alcatraz, never to be again. Great to see you, Julia. Welcome from Myanmar. Never to be repeated again, never to be caught again, never to be seen again, says Rainyard. Peter goes for seen. Hi Peter, and hi to White Stripes, and hi to Philippe. Never to be seen again from Philippe. Oksana goes for attempted. Hi Fiadavs. Seen for Julia. Okay, this is never to be caught again, says Nadia. Never to be seen again is a very nice collocation. Hi Sid, lovely to see you. Hello to you in France, Philippe. So never to be seen again. I guess they all got drowned in the cold waters of the San Francisco Bay. Probably Renyard. Spotted, found for White Stripes. Never to be there again. Never to be seen again. Yes, welcome Alex as well. So, never to be seen again. Hi Victor, lovely to see you. And the ultimate of Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers remains a mystery, but the determination of their daring escape was what was the US's most secure prison continues to captivate. So Oksana goes for fate. The grit and determination. I like grit. The courage and determination. So fate and perseverance. The fate, the ultimate outcome as well. Yes, Peter. The fate for Renyard. Is it lagging? I hope it's not. My ping is 68 at the moment. 57. 156. 106. 53. 63. The bravado's a good word. The ingenuity and determination. Ice cream for Renyard. Ingenuity and determination. And fate for Julia and fate for Philippe. So, but the ultimate fate of their... But the courage and determination. The ingenuity. Fate for Nadia as well. Okay. Continues to captivate. So, ice cream for Renyard there for ingenuity. In 1964, creativity, that's a good word, Nadia. In May 1964, the daring do, I love it. The boldness as well, good words. In May 1964, Panorama's Michael Charlton made the most feared journey in the criminal world across the waters of San Francisco Bay to see the prison island of Alcatraz. It's good to have you, Victor. Destiny and don't know, the icy waters. The icy waters. Okay, this one I think is probably quite difficult. The shark infested, notorious prison island of Alcatraz. The oscillating waters. Oscillating doesn't work. Oscillating is regular. The stormy waters. The freezing cold waters from Reynard. The notorious waters from Julia. The infamous prison from Oksana. High Das Revan. The abandoned island, the icy waters from Julia, the prohibited waters, the notorious prison island from Firdavs. Okay, so let's see it. The troubled waters. Actually, yes, no, I should have given you some clues to this one. Notorious. Somebody did say infamous. Who was it who said infamous? It was Oksana, infamous prison. Ice cream for Oksana there. Okay, the churning waters. To churn goes up and down, up and down. You churn milk to make butter. Turn it upside down and back and upside down and back. The Rock. The federal penitentiary had some of the most dangerous criminals in the US. Notorious. Good. Churning definitely needed a hint. Yes. I should have given you a hint, and the hint would have been butter. Called the Rock. That's pretty good, Vitali. Infamous for the previous one. What nicknamed and harboured. Good work, White Stripes. Dubbed, good word, Vitali. Known as for Reynard. Had kept. Held for Nadia. Known as. Had a plethora. Had contained, says Reynard. The hint would have worked for you. Such a hint could have been. My oscillating was a good go at the word. Yes, it was, Oksana. Dubbed. Had detained. Known as the Rock. So the ice creams here are going for... For White Stripes gets one, and who gets the other? Because somebody said it. For Nadia is the other ice cream. Had tenanted, contained, detained. So, called the Rock, had hosted. Not bad. So, it's not its actual name. It's perhaps almost an epithet. And this second one is an easy word. Tenants tenanted the tenements. Okay, let's give you the answer then. Nicknamed the Rock. Well done, White Stripes. It had interned. Interned is a very good word. Nicknamed for Oksana and Alex. Well done, both of you. Okay, it had held some of the most dangerous criminals. Held is an ice cream for Nadia as the only one who used held. Okay. It was incarcerated. Yes. So, definitely. Oksana and Alex, well done as well. It was as an fortress. It was hailed as an impenetrable fortress. It was known as an inescapable fortress. It was considered to be, Nadia. It was constructed as an impenetrable fortress. Inescapable, yes, like Alcatraz it is. It was thought to be, it was viewed as inescapable, known as an impenetrable. Well, it was lauded as an impregnable. Ice cream definitely there for White Stripes. It was believed to be an inescapable fortress, Philippe. So, it was regarded as an impregnable fortress. So, ice cream for White Stripes there. It was regarded as it was designed as an inescapable fortress. It was perceived as, good word, Alex. Well done, impregnable. But in the hours of 12 June 1962, 3 men, what was thought impossible, they escaped. Early hours from Regnard, small hours from Vitali, early hours from Vidavs, the wee hours from Julia, the wee hours from White Stripes accomplished, wee for Alex, carried out for Regnard, the early hours for Lando, they managed, welcome Lando, they accomplished, the early hours. The wee hours, it sounds terribly Scottish. In the wee hours of 12th of June, performed what was, they did, they dared. I think I'm going to say the closest I've seen so far is accomplished by Alex. In the small hours, says Firdavs, they broke out. They did what was thought impossible. The 3 men succeeded. Well done, Sid. I'm almost certain you're right. Ice cream for Sid. They achieved. In the early hours they achieved. Well done, keyword, welcome. They accomplished, says Nadia. So in the early hours of the 12th of June, the 3 men achieved what was thought impossible. They escaped. In the wee hours had formerly been, that fits. Speak of which, Alcatraz, yeah. Had once been, for Firdavs, had once been. To protect the entrance, says Lando. The entry, says once an entry for White Stripes. Entrance for Nadia. The invasion, the entrance to the bay for Regnard. The entry to the bay. You see, to protect entry, not the entry, had formerly been for to protect the access to the bay, had previously been for Peter, had previously entrance for keyword, the gateway to the bay, the inlet to the bay, yes, inlet would work, had once been earlier to prevent the intrusion to the bay, but to prevent intrusion had initially been entrance for Darth, changing formally to previously, and I think that's a good change, Alex. Formally an entrance had originally been. Did we have an originally? To protect the entrance. So it had originally been a naval defence fort to protect the entrance to the bay. During the US Civil War, 1860s, because of the island's isolation, cliffs, and the swift cold currents that it Captured Confederate prisoners were held there. Initially been. Rugged cliffs. Rugged's a good word. Round the rugged rocks. Steep cliffs, says Oksana. High cliffs, says Sid. That encircled it, that surrounded it, says Nadia. Steep cliffs, says Renyard. That surrounded it, says Oksana. Steep and surrounded for Lando. Steep cliffs, says Julia. Vertical cliffs with a V, Manisco. Steep and surrounded by Philippe. Steep for Nadia. That sweeps it. The cold currents that sweep it. Sweep would work without the S. The steep currents that swept it. Encircled it from Renyard. Steep for Philippe. Okay, so let's look at it. Steep cliffs, this is a very good collocation. And the cold currents that surrounded it. Well done, Julia. So well done all of you with steep and surrounded. I think that one a lot of you got. In the 1930s, as the US tried to deal with organised crime that, during Prohibition, the Department of Justice took it over. Encouraging. Encouraging. To courage is not a verb, it's to encourage, Darth. Impassable cliffs for Peter. Rampant organised crime. Rising organised crime that surged for Lando. That sprung up. You need an up with sprung. Sprung up. Rampant for Julia. Widespread that peaked during Prohibition for White Stripes. That reigned during Prohibition for Vitali. With rising organised crime. With widespread, good word Manisco, well done. Nascent crime that grew during Prohibition. Yes, Peter. Growing organised crime that flourished, says Renyard. Rampant that exploded. Flourishing. That flourished. It's got to be an ED, Nadia. That developed. That peaked. Rampant and flourished, says keyword. So, here we go. Here are the answers. Plateaued. Rampant and flourished, says Darth. And it's rampant and flourished. So, ice cream for Oksana for rampant. And many of others as well. And flourishing. That flourished. Flourished, rampant and flourished for keyword, definitely. But overmuch. Doesn't work, White Stripes. That plummeted. Okay, so to deal with rampant organised crime that flourished during Prohibition. And soon the most convicts from the federal prison system began arriving. Let's see who gets this one. The most wanted convicts, the most vicious convicts, the most nefarious, the most dangerous, the most diehard's a good word, dangerous for Lando. Notorious, vicious for Darth, infamous for Alex, notorious for Renyard, vicious for Nadia. So I would have gone for vicious, for infamous Alex, but brutal convicts is a good word, Philippe. Incorrigible, infamous, vicious, says Darth. Devil rejected, says Firdaz. Infamous, notorious, notorious, incorrigible, the most fearsome. The most fearsome convicts began arriving. Okay, yeah, the most feared, the most fearsome. Smash the like, as Julia says. Among its more famous were the gangsters Al Capone, Mickey Cohen, as well as convicted murderer Robert Stroud, who would later become better known as the Birdman of Alcatraz. Italian gangsters. Bestial, monstrous. Were among its more famous ones. Inmates for Sid. Members for Man. Famous inmates for Oksana. More famous bunch. Inmates for Nadia. Convicts. The notorious gangsters. Inhabitants, says Alex. Name. Inmate, says Julia. Figures. The leading gangsters. Notorious, says Nadia. Convicts and Posey. The dangerous gangsters, the prisoners. Arrivals or tenants. Notorious. Notorious gangsters for Julia. Popular gangsters. Tenants and notorious for Firdavs. Infamous and notorious gangsters for Elena. Renowned for Darth. Specimens. Gangsters can't be famous. It's positive. Yeah, gangsters have got to be infamous, Peter. Absolutely. So amongst its most famous inmates were the notorious gangsters. Okay, so the notorious gangsters, and they're inmates. Inmates in a mental hospital. Inmates in a prison. Men too and troublesome to be held in an ordinary jail was the way the BBC's Charlton put it. Posse. Now I get it, not a posy. Now I get it, Lando. Yeah, the posse. It's a bit informal, Lando. Men too dangerous and troublesome. Too volatile and troublesome. Too dangerous and troublesome for Philippe and Sid. Dangerous for Sid. Incorrigible for Peter. Frightening for Nadia. Violent for Rainyard. Violent for Stefano. Welcome Stefano. Dangerous, hostile for Julia. Truculent for White Stripes. Bloodthirsty. Bellicose for White Stripes. Bloodthirsty for Rainyard. We've had this word answered. Too burdensome for Lucius. I think you've used this word before, I think. I can't remember exactly. Too belligerent's a good word, White Stripes. Too fearsome, yes. But I think this was an answer that people used instead of fearsome. We've used fearsome, so what was the one everybody was suggesting for fearsome? Recalcitrant, that's a great word, Vitali. Vicious, says Nadia. Yes, men too vicious and troublesome to be held in an ordinary jail. Vicious, yes, as in Sid Vicious. Infamous. But here we have ordinary jail. Okay, but they're too vicious and troublesome to be held in an ordinary jail. So that's why they sent them there. Demon-minded for Firdavs again. Too callous. Okay, was the way he put it. I like this next little question. Frank Lee Morris arrived the island in 1958. On the island, says Oksana. By the island, says Lando. On the island, says White Stripes. In the island, says Sid. In the island, says Lucius. At the island, says Oksana. On the island, says Nadia. To the island, says Reynard. At the island, says Vitali. Stefano says at. Keyword says at. Or at, says Nadia. Darth says at. Julia says at. Upcycle goes for upon. Peter for on. Philippe for on. This is a lovely question. At says Darth. On says Alex. At says says Gull. Arrived always goes with in or at. But what about island? What goes with island? What goes with island, Lucius? And that's the question. What goes with island? On, says Vitali. In, says Julia and Sid. On, says Nadia. In is inside the island. They're not in the island. On, says Gull. The island. In is not possible because in is inside. I was in the beach up to here. Schwanen. The island. That's very good, Lando. On, says Julia. At. Lucius for in. Gull is going for on again. Upon. Upon is really good. Yep. On is preferable to at here. At is possible. At is possible, but on is better, and in doesn't work. You arrive at a place. The train arrived at the station. To the island doesn't work at all. Arrive to, we almost never use, Reynard. Yeah, it's arrive at. And then to make things worse, in this case, arrived on the island, because it's on the island. Hi, Abe. That's why I really like this question. On the island. They arrived on the island. Orphaned at the... Wow, thank you, Upcycle. What can I say? Thank you, thank you, thank you, Upcycle. That's so generous of you. We say in the park, since we see it as territory. So he arrived in the park. Yes. But he arrived on the platform at the station. And convicted, says Oksana. Correctional facility, says Vitali. Thank you, Darth. Well, thank you so much, Upcycle. That's 3 times in a row. What can I say? Various penitentiaries convicted of. Milky facilities. And condemned not of. Convicted, so. Convicted for Julia. Convicted penal facilities. This is a very American phrase. Convicted of for Peter, yes. Convicted of for Peter. Rehabilitation facilities. Anglo-Saxons don't rehabilitate, unfortunately. It's not part of the idea. Convicted, found guilty. Correctional facilities. Well done, Reynard. Correction facilities. Okay, correctional facilities. In Britain we use prison, but the Americans use this phrase, a correctional facility. He was convicted of his first crime, yeah, and at various correctional facilities. At might work if it's a point in a journey. Yes, Vitali, that's it. That's very good. But it's on the island, and that's the problem with that one. And convicted of, good Sid. Considered highly intelligent. He was a criminal with a charge sheet ranging from drug possession to armed robbery, and perhaps most prison breaks. Most notably for the second one, a career criminal, a hardened criminal, hardened for Vitali, hardened criminal, hard-boiled, and most seriously, a cunning criminal. Good phrase. I like the phrase a hardened criminal. It's a good collocation, although I don't think they used it. A hardened criminal is a very good collocation. Also a career criminal as well. An experienced criminal, yes, Nadia. A big time criminal, yes, definitely Manisco. Most notably, says Julia. Hardened criminal, says Philippe. Hard-nosed, it works, Renyard, yes. A dangerous criminal. And most notable for Philippe, good. Most notably. A most dangerous criminal. And most amusingly, prison breaks. Public shocking prison breaks, that's perhaps the idea. He was a seasoned criminal. A seasoned criminal works quite nicely. And most notably, ruthless. Lifelong criminal. Perhaps most notably prison breaks. He had been sent to the Rock in January 1960. Most importantly, next, this one's easy. After. Synonym for after, Oksana. Following, yeah. Well done, White Stripes. Upon his escape is good. After for Rainyard. For his escape. Yeah, forward work as well. Following, says Lando. Following, says Philippe. Following, says Manisco. Following for Alex. Grom. From. Following for Firdavs and Nadia. Thank you, Darth. Then. Riftwind. Then his escape. Then doesn't work. Following his escape from Sid. Following from Julia. In the aftermath of his escape. So. Gesundheit. Thank you, Alex. Following his escape. Here we go. Thank you, Sid. Off the back of. That's a good phrase, Vitali. Thank you. Lagging for others. Ping is 41. Thank you, Nadia. I think it's you today, White Stripes. I really do. The other day it was definitely me. Stream is good for keyword. So, as soon as he arrived on Alcatraz, he began to think about how he might for Lando. Might or would for Vitali, could for Reynard, could for Alex, could for Theodavs, would for Oksana, could or might for White Stripes, might for Darth, would for Keyword, could for Manisco, could for Julia, could for Peter, could for Philippe, could for Dawit, might for Darth, would for Nadia. Okay, so here we go. And how he would leave. How he should leave. But should provides... Okay, yes, how he should leave. As in a present subjunctive. And it should would work as well. But how he would leave. He was joined in his... by convicted bank-robbing brothers John and Clarence Anglin, and Alan West, who had been an inmate on Alcatraz since '57. His cell his ward, his daring endeavour, his prison cell, his cell block for Keyword. Escape plan for Reynard. Cell block for Nadia. Daring escapade for Lando. Cell block for Julia. Okay, let me give it to you then. Do we go for cell or for the escape in this gap? It's for the cell. It's cell block. But general population ward. Yeah, the American way. He was joined in his cell block, but daring escape, daring escapade works very nicely. Escape plan. Daring escape. And his prison cell, but his cell block is the area that he lived in. All the men knew each other from previous in prison together, and since they had jail cells, they were able to speak to each other at night. Stints for Keyword and stints for Alex. Previous terms, yeah, terms would work. Previous stays. Yeah, prison break. They had shared jail cells. Adjacent, says Alex. Previous stays, previous terms. They shared. Adjacent for Oksana. Previous times, previous, I would say previous sentences, but previous stays. They had in previous history. Adjoining for Vitali for the second one. The word I want to put in the second one is abutting. But it's not that. So terms and shared. Neighbouring. Adjacent for Julia. Common jail cells. Adjacent. That's very interesting, White Stripes. Thank you. Encounters in prison. So, prizes for stints and adjoining. Adjoining for Nadia. Encounters and adjacent for upcycle. Okay. And that, unfortunately, is the end. I've run out of questions. Well, we have done 40 minutes. So, thank you all for coming. Let's see. Next, stints. A stint is a period of time, Darth. Yes. Next stream is... well, ice cream's all round for everybody. And thank you, Upcycle, again. What can I say? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Next stream is on Tuesday, which is going to be the 13th, martes y 13, for anybody who speaks Spanish. Tuesday 13th of May at Thank You Car Melody Heart. Next stint is on Tuesday of May at Bye Julia, thank you for coming. Thank you Lando. Thank you Renya. Thank you White Stripes. Thank you Upcycle. At 10 a.m. UK time. Stint. A stint is a period of time. Okay, so let's see. Thank you to Alex and Ali. Thank you to Arda and Darth. Thank you to Firdabs and Julia. Thank you to Car Melody. Thank you to Keyword and Lando and Philippe. Thank you to Julia. Thank you to Lucius. Thank you to Manisco. Thank you to Nadia. Thank you to Noah. Hi there, Noah. Welcome again. Thank you to Oksana. Thank you to Peter. Thank you to Renya. Thank you to Sid. Thank you, Stefano. And special thanks to Upcycle. And thank you to Vitali. And thank you to White Stripes as well. It's been great having you all. It really has. So thank you, Firdaz. Thank you, Philippe. Thank you, Stefano. Travelling on a vehicle. Next one, Noah, is on Tuesday. Okay, Tuesday at 10 a.m. UK time. Thank you, Oksana. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Manisco. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, all of you. So take care and